You are not bad with monies. You are stressed, and that is a different thing entirely. Because stress doesn't just make you feel worse. It doesn't just tighten your chest or cloud your sleep. It reaches inside the part of your brain responsible for every financial decision you have ever made, and it quietly changes the math. It shifts what looks like a good idea. It narrows what you can see, and it has been doing this to you and to every human who ever lived under pressure without a single announcement. The strangest part is not that stress affects your thinking. You already knew that. The strangest part is exactly how it affects your financial thinking, and once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. In 2013, economists Sendhil Mullainathan at Harvard University and Eldar Shafir at Princeton University published a finding that restructured how researchers understand poverty, decision-making, and the human mind under pressure. They called it the scarcity trap, but the mechanism behind it was something far more biological than the word trap suggests. When your mind is preoccupied with a shortage, not enough money, not enough time, not enough of whatever you feel, you are running out of your cognitive bandwidth contracts. Bandwidth is the word they used deliberately. It is the total mental capacity available to you at any given moment for thinking, planning, resisting impulse, and making decisions. When scarcity enters your awareness, it tunnels your attention. The shortage becomes the center of gravity. Everything else orbits around it. Think about the last time money was tight. Not just inconveniently tight, genuinely uncertain. You probably found yourself running the numbers in your head at random moments, in the middle of conversations, right before sleep, in the shower. The mental presence of the problem took up space you weren't consciously giving it. That wasn't anxiety in the abstract. That was your bandwidth being consumed. And while it was being consumed, the part of your brain available for careful, long-range financial planning was smaller, measurably, significantly smaller. Mullainathan and Shafir tested this directly. They presented participants from different income levels with a series of hypothetical financial problems and cognitive tasks. When financial concerns were made salient, when participants were reminded of a looming expense before the test, lower-income participants showed a drop in cognitive performance equivalent to losing 13 IQ points or going one full night without sleep. Higher-income participants showed no such drop. The difference wasn't intelligence. It wasn't discipline. It was available bandwidth, and bandwidth is not a character trait. It is a resource, one that depletes. Now layer the biology on top. Neuroscientist Bruce McEwen at Rockefeller University spent decades studying how chronic stress physically reshapes the brain, not metaphorically, physically. Prolonged exposure to cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, causes measurable changes to the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for impulse control, long-range planning, and the ability to pause before acting. Under chronic stress, the prefrontal cortex becomes less active. The connections between its neurons weaken, and the amygdala, the brain's threat detection and emotional response center, becomes more active, more reactive, more dominant. In plain terms, stress biologically shifts your brain from its planning mode to its survival mode. And survival mode is not built for compound interest. It is not built for long-term investment strategies or delayed gratification. It is built for right now. It is built to find immediate relief from immediate discomfort, even when that relief costs you more in the long run. This is not a flaw in the design. For most of human history, right now was all that existed. Your ancestors did not live in a financial system that rewarded patience over decades. They lived in an environment where resources were uncertain and the future was genuinely unpredictable. The brain that prioritized immediate survival over abstract future gain was the brain that kept breathing. That brain became your brain. The problem is that you are using a survival instrument in a financial world built on time horizons it was never designed to see. Evolutionary psychologist Vladas Griskevicius at the University of Minnesota found evidence that goes even deeper. In a series of experiments, he discovered that people who grew up in environments of economic uncertainty, unpredictable income, financial instability in childhood, responded differently to cues of scarcity even in adulthood, even after their financial situation had improved. When researchers primed these participants with reminders of resource scarcity, they shifted strongly toward immediate rewards over larger, delayed ones. But participants from stable economic backgrounds showed no such shift. The brain had been calibrated. Early experiences of uncertainty had tuned the reward system to value certainty now over more later. And that calibration persisted into financial adulthood, operating below conscious awareness, influencing choices about saving, spending, and risk without ever surfacing as a deliberate thought. You don't choose a financial personality, you develop one, and the conditions of your early life quietly write its code. But here is what no one tells you about the stress money loop, and this is the part that changes things. Stress doesn't just affect how you make financial decisions. Financial decisions affect how much stress your body produces. Research published in the journal Psychoneuroendocrinology found that people who experienced acute financial worry showed significantly elevated cortisol levels at times of the day when cortisol should naturally be falling. The body's stress response, normally designed to spike in response to a threat and then resolve, was remaining activated because the threat, the bank account, the bill, the looming decision never resolved. It sat there, it persisted, and the cortisol kept coming. Elevated cortisol narrows thinking. Narrowed thinking produces worse financial decisions. Worse financial decisions increase financial stress. Increased financial stress raises cortisol. The loop runs itself, and it does not require any character weakness to enter. It only requires pressure. This is the invisible mechanism behind many of the financial patterns that people blame on personal failure. Why someone in debt keeps making purchases that worsen the debt. Why someone who feels financially behind sometimes stops checking their accounts entirely. Why financial paralysis can look from the outside like indifference, when from the inside it is the overwhelm of a system that has run out of processing room. The tunnel gets narrower the deeper inside it you are. Understanding this does not automatically break the loop, but it does change where you look for the solution. If the problem is bandwidth, then the intervention is not more financial advice. More information poured into a narrowed channel doesn't widen the channel. The intervention is anything that restores cognitive space, sleep, physical movement, one decision removed from the daily load. One area of automatic structure that removes a choice that was previously consuming mental resources without you knowing it. Small, boring, not motivational, and genuinely effective because it addresses what is actually happening inside the system. Because you are not failing at money. You are operating a brain that is doing exactly what it was built to do, prioritizing now, conserving processing power, responding to threat, inside an economic environment that demands exactly the opposite. Your ancestors survived because they could feel the urgency of a resource disappearing. That urgency is still in you. It fires every time your bank balance looks uncertain, every time a bill arrives before the paycheck, every time the math doesn't quite close. And in those moments, the part of you that is supposed to think long and plan forward goes quiet, not because you gave up, because a system older than money itself is trying to protect you from a threat it doesn't have the language to name. You are not bad with monies. You are stressed, and now, at least, you know what that actually means.